Hello, good afternoon. This is the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 and Accra Love 99.5 in Kumasi, affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Bedouin FM Bumprugu, Sun City Radio Keta, Volta Premier Ho, ATL FM Cape Coast, Radio Max Takrade, and Rage 104.9 in Tamale. We are live on Twitter Spaces, Facebook live stream, and my Joy Online interactive app. The Midday News is sponsored by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol, always a delightful experience, and Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC pipes and water tank. Where Duraplus goes, water flows. Coming up, vaccination against 3 childhood killer diseases underway after weeks of a nationwide shortage that put the lives of babies in danger.
We are moving all the supplies to the regions and the facilities. There will be vaccines available for those who need it. The doses that are available is enough for at least a minimum of 6 weeks across the country.
Details as we hear from a consultant pediatrician who is urging the Ghana Health Service to target measles outbreak areas. We are live in some of the regions. Also in this package, police set to press charges against 6 persons they are holding over the death of young soldier Sheriff Imoro. We have details as investigations so far revealed 2 of them attempted to steal his phone. Also, trial of former NDC National Chairman Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo adjourned over late filing of witness statements. Also in this package, government says it's taking steps to pay off the 6 billion cedis owed road contractors.
We know we have issues with finances, but we are paying them, not the way they would appreciate.
But the Contractors Association says 13 members died from stress-related complications due to delayed payments.
Our companies are collapsing. We go around, contractors are dying. The year 2022, what we have on our record, 13 members died, and the 13 members, they all have companies that have monies with the road fund and the Ministry of Finance.
And in sports,
Thomas Partey finally responds to comparison with Manchester United's Casemiro after a dazzling display over the weekend.
And the wait is over as former Greek minister launches his presidential campaign with a public lecture insisting the NPP leadership's indecisiveness on the election timetable can no longer hold him.
I've been waiting for the party to come out and say that on this and this date we are going to have the election. Then I will draw up my program accordingly. But it doesn't mean that my supporters are asleep. No.
Details as he talks of bold and innovative plans to revive the ailing economy with agriculture. These and more here on the Midday News with me, Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah. Thanks for choosing us. This is Joy News, independent, fearless and credible. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. The details now. This morning, the Ghana Health Service resumed nationwide vaccination against 3 childhood killer diseases after weeks of nationwide shortage that put the lives of babies in danger and posed a public health threat. The Ghana Health Service yesterday received BCG, polio and measles vaccines. Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumabwaje, says parents can now make their children available for vaccination.
The first batch of the vaccines just arrived, and we have doses in BCG, oral polio vaccine, and then the measles vaccine. They just arrived with the accessories, the syringes, safety boxes. They've all just arrived, and so immediately they are being dispatched to the regions, and then vaccination will start across the country. We want to use this opportunity to assure all mothers that there will be enough vaccines for everybody. There's no rush. They should come and get the vaccine as they are due. So this is the 3 out of the 10 vaccines. So we normally have 10 vaccines that are used for 13 diseases across Ghana. 3 of them were in short supply. That is the OPV, BCG, and the measles rubella vaccine. We have received quantities of the 3 to complement what we are doing. And this is the first batch that arrived. We are hoping that the rest will come in very soon. We are moving all the supplies to the regions and the facilities, and so by Monday morning there'll be vaccines available for those who need it. The doses that are available is enough for at least a minimum of 6 weeks across the country, while the others are brought in. So we have enough doses to cover our need for the next 6 weeks.
Dr. Patrick Kumar Boaji is Director General of the Ghana Health Service. You may recall that during the period of shortage, there were some 100 cases of measles recorded in the northern region capital, Tamale. A consultant pediatrician at the Tamale Teaching Hospital, Professor Al-Hassan Abdul-Munin, wants the Ghana Health Service to prioritize areas currently experiencing measles outbreak.
I agree with, the fact that we would target, the areas that may be hard to reach. But these are the areas that vaccine coverage is traditionally maybe lower compared to the urban areas. But, the other point is I would also think that we should target where we are already having the outbreak situations. Because in northern region, for instance, we did a study during the peak of the COVID-19. And then we realized that even those times that the vaccines were available, the uptake was very low. So the Honorable Minister mentioned that this was something that WHO projected. Actually, our studies, not just projection, showed that they would have, the coverage was lower. So these are children who may not have been due just within the last 5 or 6 months, but actually they were due for vaccination during the COVID-19 period, and then they never had it.
Professor Abdul-Munin also wants government to address the root cause of the vaccine shortage.
But then this does not give us full comfort. The reason being that if we do not address the root cause of the problem, so if we do not address the issue of financing for vaccines ahead of time, then it means that we may just come back in a year or so time and then we'll come and face the same problem. So what we want to do, and we had indicated that in our press release that started the whole of this issue, that we would want a situation where vaccine financing is actually guaranteed through a ring-fence mechanism.
Professor Al-Hassan Abdul-Munin is a consultant pediatrician at the Tamale Teaching Hospital. Let's get an update now on the vaccination exercise, which began this morning. We'll start in Tamale. Correspondent Martina Bugri joins us. Martina, what can you report?
We are told that the vaccines arrived yesterday. This morning they began the distributions. What I understand is 8 districts have picked up their vaccines already, and the rest are expected to pick up their own by the close of day. What we do know is that those who are closer, who are in very close areas like Tamale, Metro, Sanerigu, Savilu, Kumbungu, they can begin their vaccinations today. But subsequent or other districts that are a bit further, they probably will begin tomorrow. So what we understand is they have received all the vaccines and they have started the distribution.
And Martina, before you go, do you know if there's a plan to reach out to the areas where there was a measles outbreak first?
Yes, so what they are doing is I'm told that they sent information earlier before the vaccines arrive, and so areas that were hard hit have already received their vaccines, I'm told.
Martina Bugri is our correspondent in Tamale in the northern region. Here in Accra, mothers are excited to vaccinate their children against the diseases. Hannah Odame visited some centers and joins us with more. Hannah, which centers did you visit and what was the level of patronage? Hello, Hannah.
Hello, Bernice.
Yes, I guess you didn't hear my question. I'm asking which centers you visited and what the level of patronage has been.
Bernice, I was earlier in the morning. I was at the Adabraka Polyclinic, and as early as 9 a.m., the public health nurse there told me that about 15 parents, mothers, I should say, had come over to vaccinate their children against the vaccines that they had that was in short supply. We know it was BCG, polio, and measles. I am currently at the Mamobi Polyclinic where there is a massive campaign ongoing. I see that the public health nurse here, whenever a mother comes in, she tells them, go get your friends to also bring their children because now all the vaccines are in. Then you should see her excitement because she said she was equally worried when the vaccines were not here. I'll just speak to her very briefly concerning this campaign that she's embarked on to get all the mothers who have missed the vaccines to bring their children. You're welcome to join me. I see you rigorously and aggressively telling the mothers to bring their children. I know this is on your heart. Tell us more about that.
Yes, because all the vaccines are now in, we are sure of this complete protection of the baby. So we are urging other mothers who came here this morning to tell the mothers in the community that the vaccines are in. Those they miss, they should bring them for the vaccine.
That was our, and I have also been speaking to some of the mothers, and they had just one message. They said they do not want to go through the anxiety that they felt when the vaccines were in short supply. So they are pleading with the Ghana Health Service, with the authorities in charge, stakeholders, that whenever they see there is a shortage, they should just, even they shouldn't get to the stage where there's a shortage. They should just ensure that the children have all the necessary vaccines before they get to this stage. Because what they have been through for the period with which they were in short supply, we don't want to even recount that anymore.
Hannah Odame joining us from the Mamobi Polyclinic, and you could just tell the excitement in her voice based on what she witnessed and the reaction from the nurses there. Well, in the Volta region, the acting regional director of Health Service, Dr. Senanu Jokoto, says the vaccination will begin tomorrow.
The Acting General gave us an order to ensure that all our cold funds are in Accra on Saturday, so that immediately the vaccines touch base in the country, we are able to take it and distribute it to the rest of the regions. So it is exactly the same, and the process is ongoing in the Volta region.
Apologies for the low quality and sound there, but you heard Dr. Senanu Jokoto saying vaccination in the Volta region will begin tomorrow. Away from that story, police are preparing to press charges against 6 persons they are holding over the death of young soldier Sharifi Moro. 2 of the suspects are alleged to have attacked the soldier, attempting to steal his phone, with the remaining accused of either selling or purchasing the phone. The death of the soldier sparked a military raid over Sherman as armed, uniformed men searched for the killers, allegedly beating some persons in the process. The police today issued a statement on the matter for the first time. There's more in the following news desk report.
Sheriff Moro's death hit his family very hard.
A small boy, 21 years old boy. You know the suffering we suffer for this boy before he entered the army. Then just took some few hours to finish the boy for us.
While they asked for justice, they were equally concerned about the narrative that had been pushed regarding his movements that night. They knew he was on a course as he had visited on 2 previous occasions.
Until the first time or by.
Came the first time. On the second occasion, this was to be his 3rd visit. Some of the things people are saying about him are unfortunate.
Because
I cried for several hours. I later heard he struggled with them and knocked on doors, asking for help, but got no help. I am told he kept shouting that he is not a thief, but they didn't leave him alone, and no one helped him.
The police has some answers. The statement says that on March 3, Sherif visited a female friend at Ashaiman at about 10:30 p.m. He's said to have left the place at 1:30 a.m. on March 4. 2 of the suspects, Samuel Tete and Abubakar Siddiq, are alleged to have attacked him at about 1:45 a.m. in an attempt to rob him of his phone and backpack. Sherif is said to have resisted and struggled with the suspects. He was stabbed in the arm as the suspects made away with his phone. 4 other persons are being held either because they received a stolen phone or sold it to other suspects. It is worth noting that all 6 suspects were arrested starting from 9th March and ending on 12th March. This means arrest took place 48 hours after a military team raided parts of Ashaiman in search of suspects. It is unclear how the military exercise impacted what the police say is an intelligence-led operation that resulted in the arrest of the suspects from various hideouts.
That was a news desk report. We understand the suspects have been arraigned at a court in Ashaiman. Our man Kwame Yanka is there for us, and he'll furnish us with details when they are available. Meanwhile, security analyst Professor Kwesi Enian is warning the increasing assault of citizens by personnel of state security agencies makes the country more susceptible to terrorist attacks.
Taking into consideration where we are located, the increasingly downward movement of terrorist groups, and knowing that in Mali, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, Niger, Chad, that the spread of extremist violence is directly and positively correlated to how statutory security forces treat their citizens, then I think the Ghana Armed Forces did not do. You see, if Al-Qaeda came to Ashama now, or Islamic State, and said, look, we want to recruit, what do you think would happen? And I think some heads must roll, because the brutalities that we've seen has heightened the vulnerabilities that we already face.
Professor Kwesi Enin is a security analyst. MP for Asham Ernest Nogbe has released a statement on this matter. My colleague Joseph Akabley has details.
So the statement is on the arrest of the 6 suspects. It reads, I pray that the Attorney General's Department will subsequently ensure swift, fair, fearless and successful prosecution of all the suspects involved in the alleged killing of Trooper Imoro, and for our courts to return a verdict that serves as a bold line of deterrence to all persons who may want to break the law. May I use this opportunity to once again demand that Parliament or an independent committee investigates the conduct and misconduct of soldiers who were unlawfully deployed at Ashaiman on the 7th day of March 2023.
Joseph Akableda with details of the statement from the Ashaman MP. You're listening to the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. Away from that story, former national chairman of the opposition NDC, Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, was expected to open his defense in a case in which he's been accused of plotting to cause harm. In a leaked tape, Mr. Ampofo is allegedly heard with others plotting to cause harm to chairperson of the EC, Jean Mensa. Mr. Ofosu-Ampofo has been charged with 1 count of conspiracy to cause harm and 2 counts of assault against a public officer. The former NDC chairman was expected to open his defense today, but due to the late filing of his witness statement, the case has now been adjourned to April. Kweku Asante wasn't called for us. He joins us with details. What more should we know, Kweku?
So the fact of the prosecution is that following the Ayawaso West Wogon by-election, which was characterized by some violence, the NDC held a meeting. At this said meeting, the prosecution say Ofosu-Ampofo and Ms. Abuahin mapped out a strategy to among others, cause harm to the EC chairperson, Most Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante, and the chairman of the National Peace Council. In this said audio, the CID has been investigating for some time, and today the judge Samuel Kwame Edubu was expecting that Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo will open his defense. But when the case was called, lawyer for Mr. Ofosu-Ampofo told the court, Mr. Tony Later, that the witness statement had only been filed last Friday, and he had not been able to brief the client and also prep him for today, and so they were pleading for some adjournment.
Was the other accused person in court, and at this adjourned date, when is it exactly?
Kweku Abuahin was also in court together with Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo. Indeed, Justice Samuel Kwame Adibu said that he had new responsibilities and will not be able to sit on this case every other day and will only be able to sit on Monday. So he looked at his calendar, agreed that they were going to hold this case on the 3rd of April. But just around that time, Tony Later brought to the court's attention that Ofosu-Ampofo will be burying his mother the weekend prior to that Monday, and so would occasion some difficulties. And so the court agreed that it will be Ofosu-Ampofo will be opening his defense on the 17th of April. The prosecution did not have any challenges, and so the court decided so.
Thank you, Kweku Asante. Now, former Food and Agriculture Minister Dr. Owusu Efiri-Akoto says the governing New Patriotic Party's leadership indecisiveness on when to announce the timetable for the presidential race will no longer stop him from hitting the ground to campaign. He resigned from the Akufo-Addo government to concentrate on his presidential ambition. Later this afternoon, he will speak at a public lecture to announce his plans. He tells Joy News the outcome of the 2020 elections requires a grassroots person to win the next elections for the NPP.
You know, they are running around the country now. I've been running around the country for 6 years, because every year except 2020, when COVID did not prevent me, I've been going around the country as part of my brief as the Minister for Food and Agriculture. So where they are going is where my impact is felt. 1.7 million farmers are beneficiaries of planting for food and jobs. And when they go there and they ask them, they will tell them the story. Since this whole thing began, the issue since the elections of 2020, where we saw the NPP not doing so well, losing 36 constituencies, and our presidential candidate losing about 1 million votes from the 1.5 to 500,000. The issue which has come up is to do with who replaces the president, the new flag bearer. And the party, as we speak today, have still not been able to decide on a date for our election. That is part of the reason I'm quiet, because I've been waiting for the party to come out and say that on this and this date we are going to have the election. Then I will draw up my program accordingly. But it doesn't mean that my supporters are asleep. No, they are very active in all the 16 regions, in all the 275 constituencies. There are volunteers who are working very hard for me without my physically having to go, because I've been going around the country, as I said.
Well, Dr. Owusu Afriyie-Akoto's lecture today will focus on making Agric the centerpiece for Ghana's development if he's elected the next president of the country. According to him, the Tree Crop Development Authority, if well harnessed, has the potential to guarantee between $8 and $12 billion annually for the country.
We are talking about new authorities trying to bring in to diversify out of cocoa. Cote d'Ivoire, which is our next door neighbor, with 5 crops, they are able to export something like $7-8 billion every year. Ghana is still stuck with less than 2 billion, with cocoa doing about 1.5 billion, and then the rest doing a few. That is why we brought in the Tree Crop Development Authority, which has the potential to generate something like between 6 to 12 billion US dollars every year from 6 crops that we have selected and targeted.
You heard former Food and Agric Minister Dr. Owusu Afriyie-Akoto. The launch of his campaign takes place later today at the University for Professional Studies. It will be live on Joy News at 3 p.m. You're listening to the Midday News with me, Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah. Just gone by, we brought you an update on that story involving the killing of young soldier Imoro Sharif. The police has pressed charges against 6 persons. We understand they're currently at an Ashaman court. We'll bring you updates when they are available. Also, nationwide vaccination against 3 childhood killer diseases have begun after weeks of shortage. Well, much later, we bring you a story on contractors. Government says it's taking steps to pay off the 6 billion cedis it owes them.
We know we have issues with finances, but we are paying them, not the way they would appreciate.
Also, we have a special feature on Manche Taki Teria for a Ghana Man series. Do stay.
And now you want to go into somebody's kingdom, using him as the king of Accra to enter into Ashanti and take the Ashanti spirit. He said no, he will not permit that.
Keys. What could be simpler than a key? Who doesn't have a key? A car key, an office key, a drawer key, but there's one key that rules them all. The house key, the key to a place we call home, the key to the home where everything comes together, the key to a home that is our own, a home where we make life happen with our families and loved ones. Adoha has been working hard for over 30 years to make home ownership within reach for many. Say yes to property with Adoha. Your dream home is one call away. Your dream home is a few clicks away. Visit our Accra project, The Place, by calling 030-2789-757.
Imagine say water wake up at dawn, e no bath, e no chop, when e vanish for your area for 2 weeks. You no get 1 drop safe inside your tank.
Hey. Haja, our life was in dangerous.
Only our neighbor gets water with water tank.
Water tank?
Yes, water tank. Mamma mia, that water tank gets meter for checking water level. That water tank be fine past Kumasi Selenium. That water tank be tough like Ghana Army. That water tank, they carry water pepe, so say some no go left inside the supply tank. What a tank! As my boss, Mr. Poncho, go talk.
Beautiful, durable, with water level indicator and accurate volume of water. Water tank. What a tank! By Duraplast.
Thanks for staying. It's now time for sports.
Thank you very much, Bernice. Now, despite being regarded as the best defensive midfielder in the Premier League by many, Arsenal's Thomas Partey says he's focused on improving as a player to help his team achieve their goals. Following his impressive performance this season, and of course in Sunday's 3-0 win over Fulham, the Black Stars midfielder has been drawn into the debate about who is a better player between himself and Manchester United's Casemiro. From the horse's mouth, what does Partey think of the comparison?
Well, I think I have to concentrate on my work. I'm really happy, to be at least seen by some people, and I think the most important is to keep helping the team, which is the mentality I have, and also to work on myself. I think we earned the right, to play like this. We started the game very well, and we were able to score first and also keep going, and at the end, when you work harder, you get what you need, and we were able to achieve that. The team is really working hard. We go game after game, and every game is important for us. We try to, give our best and try to win every game as we can, and at the end we need to earn the right to win, and the team is really working hard to be able to win the games.
Well, Bernice, what do you think?
Interesting. I think Arsenal will win the league. That's what I think. Thank you so much, Hannah Mubarak. Now to some other stories. Government says it's taken steps to pay off the over 6 billion cedis owed road contractors. Several certificates of work submitted to government for payment of some work dating as far back as 2017 remain unpaid, and this has forced some banks to seize the property belonging to contractors. The financial challenges, according to chairman of the Association of Road Contractors, John Affle, has resulted in the death of 13 of its members.
Our suppliers, our creditors, our banks are chasing us to bring the money into our accounts. What do we do? The Ghana Road Fund owes contractors 5.9 billion as at the end of October 2022. It was surprised for you to know that only about 54 million of the amount was paid in December.
John Affle is chairman of the Association of Road Contractors. Deputy Roads and Highways Minister Stephen Jalula told my colleague Blessed Soga that government has taken steps to settle the debt.
We are trying to dualize from Accra straight up to Kumasi. But because of the limited resources that we have, we are not doing Ofanko to Nsawam. We've done from Nsawam to Apeja.
Are you paying the contractors?
Yes, of course, we are paying them. We are paying them. We know we have issues with finances, but we are paying them.
Deputy Roads Minister Stephen Jalula there speaking to my colleague Blessed Soga. Close to 200,000 gas cylinders are locked up in a cylinder manufacturing company and the government's flagship policy, One District, One Factory. The factory located at Ewutu Breku in the central region is facing stiff competition from a foreign company. Managers of the factory are livid over what they describe as government's inertia towards the growth of local companies. Here are excerpts of our latest hotline documentary, One District, Some Factories.
The woes of the One District, One Factories are not limited to Casa de Europa and Petersfield and Ray Group Limited. There are dozens of such factories across the country that are in the same state as the ones in the central region. Ghana has been importing cylinders for many years, but this huge importation of cylinders should have changed with the establishment of the cylinder manufacturing company located in the Ewutu Breku district.
So immediately we began our operations and we put our price out. Most of the people who were then importing immediately then decided to shift towards us.
The patronage of the cylinders was huge, but today the company is out of business. Philip Asefwa is the CEO of the company.
So now if you come to our factory, boss, you'll be shocked. We are now getting to almost close to 200,000 cylinders. We cannot send one out.
I'm sure you want to hear more. Do join us later at 8:30 p.m. on the Joy News channel for the One District, Some Factories documentary produced by Richard Kodonyakon. And before we go, he was the king of the Ga people at the time the capital town of the Gold Coast was moved from Cape Coast to Accra in 1877. He refused to help the British capture the golden stool of the Ashanti people. He was exiled to Elmina for 3 years, but the Gas refused to replace him. He is Manche Takiteria. There's more by Jojo Kobana.
In the heart of Makola sits the statue of Manche Takitaria, overlooking the Rollins Park in Accra. Historians have described him as an illustrious king of the Ga people. But what do young Ga people know about this prominent king? I sampled some views.
I don't know much about him, but I know he moved Gans from Ayawaso to the coast.
I'm sorry, but I don't know anything about the king.
There you have it. Disappointing, isn't it? So, I bring you some history about a king loved and revered by his people. I will tell the story with the help of historian at the Asre Manche Palace, Reverend Dr. Jesse Ankra. King Takitaria felt the British were deceitful, so he vowed never to cooperate with them. The British wanted to capture the golden stool of the Ashantis. They wanted Manche Takitaria to contribute men to fight the Ashantis, but he refused.
And now you want to go into somebody's kingdom using him as the king of Accra to enter into Ashanti and take the Ashanti spirit. He said no, he will not permit that.
To the Gold Coast governor, Sir Frederick Hodgson described him as an uncooperative king, so he was exiled to Elmina from November 1880 to March 1883.
They kept him there, hoping and trusting that a new king would be put in place instead of King Takitaria.
Jojo Kobna with that report, ending this edition of the Midday News with me, Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah. There are more stories on myjoyonline.com, including women are the most judged species. That's according to Charlotte Osei. Visit our site for more stories. Thanks for your company. Kindly stay with us. Up next is Living Word with Pastor